A practitioner once asked me something that completely changed the direction of one of our classes. She said, Tina, my client cried for almost the entire session. And then she smiled and added, it was incredible. And I paused for a moment and asked her a question that she wasn't expecting. I said, what changed? And she looked at me and thought about it and finally said, I'm not sure. And I think that's one of the most important conversations practitioners can have, because somewhere along the way, many of us begin assuming that emotional intensity is the same as healing. And welcome back to my channel. My name's Tina Brigittini, if we haven't met yet, and I welcome you here. I know for me, when I started my practice, that I thought there were great things happening if somebody actually had a cathartic release. That if someone cries or shakes or has a powerful emotional release, that lasting transformation happened. And sometimes that is true, but sometimes it's not. And today I'd like to explore why emotional release can be incredibly valuable without automatically becoming lasting healing. See, let me begin by saying something very important. I'm not against emotional release, far from it. Emotion needs to be expressed. Grief needs space. Anger needs acknowledgement. And fear needs compassion. I've witnessed beautiful moments of emotional release throughout my career, and some of them have genuinely changed lives. But I've also seen something else, and that is clients who experience profound emotional release only to find themselves repeating the patterns months later. And that observation forced me to ask a different question. An emotional release is an experience. Healing is a reorganization. And those aren't always the same thing. So think about learning to play the piano. You might have one incredible lesson where everything clicks. You leave feeling inspired. You finally understand the music. But one lesson, organize, organize your ability to play. And that happens through integration. See, healing works very much the same way. A powerful emotional experience can open a door. Integration determines whether we learn to live differently after walking through it. And this is one of the reasons practitioners sometimes become discouraged. The session felt amazing, extraordinary. The client cried. There was insight, there was relief, and everything looked like success. Then 2 weeks later, the familiar pattern returned. So we have to ask, did that session fail? Not necessarily. It may have accomplished exactly what it was meant to accomplish. Perhaps it created openness. Perhaps it softened protection. Perhaps it allowed something that had been held for years to finally be expressed. And these are meaningful changes. But expression and reorganization are two different processes. So imagine a river that has been blocked by a fallen branch. Removing the branch allows the water to flow again. And that's important, but the river still has to discover a new path. An emotional release often removes the blockage. Integration is what allows life to begin flowing differently. So one moment creates possibility, the other creates sustainability. Now, across many healing traditions, emotional expression has been honored as part of the healing process. Modern psychology also recognizes the value of experiencing and processing emotion in supportive context. At the same time, contemporary research suggests that lasting change often involves more than emotional catharsis alone. Factors such as new experiences, supportive relationships, repeated practice, and integration all contribute to enduring transformation. Now, different traditions emphasize different aspects of this process, and I believe practitioners benefit from understanding both the value and the limits of emotional release. Now, one of the questions I ask myself after every session is not, did something powerful happen? It's what's likely to continue changing after today. And that question changes my practice because my goal stopped being creating memorable sessions. My goal became creating the conditions where change could continue long after the session ended. Now, this week in our energy therapy certification course, we spent a long time discussing exactly this. One practitioner said, I used to judge a session by how emotional it became. And now she watches for something different. She watches for flexibility, choice, capacity, presence. Those qualities often tell us much more about lasting transformation than emotional intensity alone. And inside the certification, we meet live every week for 2 hours to explore conversations like these through case discussions, practical application, and guided learning. Now, if today's discussion resonates with you, I'd love to welcome you into our community. And if there's one idea I'd like you to remember, it's this: emotional release creates possibility. Integration creates lasting change. And as practitioners, our role isn't simply helping people to express emotion. It's helping create the conditions where that experience becomes part of a new way of living. And in our next chapter, we're going to explore something that I believe every practitioner eventually discovers on their own. And that's why presence often heals more than technique. Because long after clients forget the words we said, they often remember how they felt in our presence. So thank you for joining me for another chapter. I'd love to hear your perspective. Have you ever witnessed a powerful emotional release that didn't lead to lasting change? Or have you seen small, almost quiet shifts that completely transformed someone's life over time? And to everyone joining around the world, especially our growing practitioner community in India, thank you for bringing your insights, your questions, and your experiences into these conversations. Now, one of the greatest gifts of this series has been seeing practitioners from different traditions thinking together about what creates lasting healing. Until next time, take good care of yourself, of course. Healing isn't about becoming someone else. It's about understanding how we became who we are and creating conditions for something new to emerge. Many blessings to you. Tina Brigitini here. I'll see you in the next video.